We live in a world where everyone shares everything. Your breakfast, your vacation, your face at every angle, filtered and perfected. Social media has become a stage where billions perform daily, seeking validation through hearts, likes, and comments. But then, there are those people. The ones who never post their own photos. The ones who decline invitations with a polite smile. The ones who sit quietly at parties, observing, not performing. The ones who seem perfectly fine being invisible in a world obsessed with being seen. Maybe that's you. Maybe you know someone like this. And if you've ever wondered why someone would choose to stay hidden in the age of oversharing, this will reveal the psychology behind it. And trust me, it's deeper than you think. Let's start with something most people get wrong. When someone doesn't post photos or avoids the spotlight, we assume they're insecure, shy, antisocial, maybe even broken. But here's the twist. They might actually be the most secure people in the room. You see, people who constantly post photos are often seeking something: validation, approval, a digital mirror that reflects back their worth. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all crave connection. But the people who don't post, they've already found something most people spend their whole lives searching for: self-worth that doesn't depend on anyone else. Think about it.
If you already feel good about yourself, why would you need strangers to confirm it? If your identity is solid, why would you need to perform it online? These people aren't hiding, they're just not seeking. And in a world addicted to external validation, that's almost revolutionary. But let's go deeper, because not everyone who avoids the spotlight does it from a place of confidence. Some do it because the world taught them to. Maybe they were betrayed by friends. Maybe they learned early on that showing vulnerability feels dangerous. Maybe they've been judged, criticized, or misunderstood so many times that putting themselves out there feels like handing someone a weapon. So they retreat, not because they don't want connection, but because they've learned that protection feels safer than exposure. Psychologists call this avoidant attachment, or hypervigilance, a survival strategy developed when the world felt unsafe. These people aren't antisocial. They're self-protective. And honestly, can you blame them? When you post a photo, you open the door to critique, to comparison, to the exhausting performance of being on all the time. For some, it's just easier to opt out, to keep their peace, to control what parts of their life are shared and which parts stay sacred. And then there's another layer: introversion. Introverts don't hate people. They just find social interaction draining, even online. Posting a photo isn't just clicking a button.
It's an energy exchange. It's opening yourself up to comments, DMs, expectations, and the constant hum of digital noise. For introverts, solitude isn't loneliness. It's breathing room. It's when their thoughts are loud enough to be heard, when reflection becomes clarity, when they can finally recharge without the world demanding more from them. So they stay quiet, not because they're hiding, but because they're protecting their energy. And in a world that glorifies extroversion, that's often misunderstood. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some people avoid posting photos because they value authenticity over performance. They see social media for what it is: a highlight reel, a curated version of reality, and they refuse to participate in the illusion. They don't want to distort who they are for likes. They don't want to reduce their identity to a filtered image or a clever caption. To them, their true self is something more than what can be captured in a picture, and they'd rather be unseen than misrepresented. This is a form of identity preservation. They're not rejecting connection, they're rejecting the performance of connection. And honestly, that takes guts. So the next time you notice someone living quietly, don't assume they're hiding. They might be confident, self-protective, conserving their energy, or simply refusing to perform. In a world that screams to be noticed, maybe the most powerful choice is to know you don't have to be.
Here's something most people don't realize about the constant performance of being online. There's a scientific term for it. It's called audience fatigue or self-objectification. Studies show that when you post photos of yourself regularly, your brain literally starts to see you as an object for evaluation. You start viewing yourself through other people's eyes. You become both the performer and the critic, and that split, it's exhausting. Researchers at Harvard found that people who frequently post selfies score higher on measures of narcissism, but lower on self-compassion. Think about that. The more you seek validation online, the less kind you become to yourself. Because every photo becomes a test, every post a performance review, and you're never quite good enough. But the people who don't post, they've opted out of that cycle entirely. They refuse to let algorithms dictate their self-worth. They refuse to let strangers judge their value. And in doing so, they've protected something precious, their intrinsic self-concept, a stable identity that doesn't fluctuate based on external feedback. And it's becoming rarer every single day. So when you see someone who never posts their photo, don't assume they're insecure. They might just be the most psychologically secure person you know. They've chosen to build their identity in private, away from the noise, away from the performance, away from the endless need to prove themselves to people who don't even matter.
Now, let's talk about what happens when you spend a lot of time alone, whether by choice or circumstance. Solitude shapes you. It gives you an emotional intelligence most people never develop. You start noticing patterns in your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. You can read a room before anyone even speaks. You understand yourself in ways others never will. Artists, writers, thinkers, many of them have been alone by choice. They let solitude feed their creativity. They value deep conversations over small talk, meaningful connection over quantity. But solitude also has a shadow side. Some people are alone not because they chose it, but because life made it so. Maybe they have few friends. Maybe their relationships feel shallow. Maybe their family misunderstands them. So they put on a confident face, hide their vulnerability, and keep their distance. This is protective solitude, a survival strategy. They've learned that relying on others can hurt, so they rely on themselves. And yet, deep down, there's a quiet longing for someone to simply ask, "Are you okay?" Here's the paradox of it all. Being alone can be both freedom and isolation. It can be peace and loneliness. It can be a place of safety and a place of longing. Some days, solitude feels like bliss. Other days, it feels like being invisible. And that tension between the freedom of being alone and the ache of being unseen is what defines these people. They're not broken, they're survivors, thinkers, feelers, quiet warriors navigating a world that often misunderstands them. They show us that happiness doesn't always come from being surrounded by others, that strength isn't just endurance, but self-standing, that connection isn't just external, but deeply internal. So why do these people avoid photos? Why do they choose solitude? It's not about insecurity or vanity. It's about protecting their space, their peace, and their authenticity in a world that constantly demands more from them. They don't need validation because they already know their worth. And that, my friends, is a powerful thing. Here's the truth. Whether you choose solitude or seek connection, neither defines your value. Understanding why you need what you need, when it's healing, when it's protective, can help you live more fully, love more freely, and finally be at peace with yourself. And sometimes it allows you to notice that the world is still waiting for the real you, the one who was always there, quietly growing, quietly surviving, quietly learning to thrive.